I recently had time off, and when I come back, I found that my headspace, my mindset had shifted, and it had shifted for the negative. I then spent the following week and a half, or just over a week, spiraling until it got to, I guess, a small version of rock bottom at the start of this week. I decided to tackle it and be proactive about it, and I used 3 steps that helped me break out of it, and I'm feeling a lot better today. I thought I'd share these 3 steps just in case someone else is in a similar boat and spiraling and just feeling more and more negative, and maybe they could try this to see if it helps them too. So essentially, I got to a point where I almost curled up on the couch and was just like, about life. and and I was like, well, of course I can't keep doing this. I got to keep stepping forward. And so I knew the first step that I needed to do is journal. I knew that journaling in itself wasn't enough. And so it come to mind this idea. None of this is original to me. I just used these slightly different tools or pieces of tools and put them together, and it was quite successful for me. And so the first step was journaling, and it was just literally unloading everything that was on my mind, just writing it all down. Just what's coming to mind, what's been going through my mind, how I'm feeling. And it became apparent to me that I was living in fear. Now, I know that just writing this stuff down isn't enough, right? Because if we just focus on the negative, even though we're writing it down, that is good because it's getting it out of our mind and onto the paper. It's helping clear the clutter. Just getting it down on paper isn't enough. We want to be proactive, right? Because often what we're writing down, what we're thinking about, is not what we... lost my pace. It's not thinking about what we want. It's thinking about what we don't want, right? And so then the next step I knew was to think, was to write out, what do I want? Because I've cleared all the clutter of what I don't want or what's going on, what's weighing my mind down. Now the next step was to write out what I do want. And so I spent some time writing out the things that I do want. And it started on a very basic level and then developed into something more tangible that I could act on. From there, I reviewed. You can separate your life into multiple areas. And so there's a tool called Wheel of Life, and you can separate your life into different areas. And I've used this tool multiple times. It's really a brilliant tool. Anyway, I took that and I did a quick glance at these areas in my life. Then I chose the 3 that I wanted to focus on. And so then asked myself the question, what is my satisfaction of these areas and what would I like it to be? And for me, just with where I was at, what I'd just written and what I want, it was very apparent that these 3 key areas were really low and I wanted them to be really high. And so initially, when you look at that, it can be like, well, there's nothing that I can do that can make that happen, go from like a 2 to an 8, because it's a scale question. I might have forgotten to mention that when you rate these areas of your life, you ask, how satisfied am I about this thing, 0 to 10, and you scale it, and then you ask, where would I like it to be from 0 out of 10? And so there was a couple of areas that were like 2 or 3, and I want them to be 8. And at a glance, it's like, well, okay, there's nothing that I can do immediately that's going to make it an 8. But that's not the point. The point is that I was in a hole and I wanted to start building momentum again to break free from that. And so it's about what thing can I do immediately, as in tomorrow when I was doing this tool, what thing can I do immediately to move the needle? So it doesn't need to go from a 2 to an 8 in a day. That's not how life works. It's going from 2 to a 3 And then next week I can review it again and go, cool, I did something. I feel like I've got a bit of momentum. What can I do to move it from a 3 to a 4? And so I did that in these areas, and I come up with a few tasks. A side note with this thing, just in sharing it, we don't want to write out too many things. Ideally, it's about like one thing that we can do in each area. I did a couple of things in the 3 areas that I wrote down. Ideally, though, we don't really want to go above 3 things in total that we take action on, because then we can just become overwhelmed. But anyway, and so it worked. It created some momentum, and I'm feeling a lot better, and I'm being proactive, and it's awesome to feel like I'm getting into the swing of things again. So yeah, I just wanted to pass this forward. If you're feeling stuck, or if you're noticing that you're spiraling and having trouble breaking free of that spiral, 3 steps that you can do is take time, grab a journal, take time, sit down, write out everything that is going on in your head, then write out what you want. Then within what you've written out about what you want, what areas are they in your life? Scale it. Where is it at the moment? 0 out of 10. Where do you want it to be? 0 out of 10. And then what action can you take immediately? One action, ideally, tomorrow, can you take to move the needle towards where you want it to be? Anyway, I thought I'd just share this. Thanks, team. And we'll talk again soon.